The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and sponsored by international award-winning author Mia Mosinzia of Missing. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 40 podcast platforms, as well as hamiltonradio.net, Diamonds FM, and the mikewagnershow.com. We can be heard in over 100 countries, featuring over 1,000 well-known and amazing guests throughout the globe. And named one of the top 100 global podcasts in the New York Weekly Times, Hollywood Entertainment News, Los Angeles Weekly Times, Apple, and Chartable. So sit back and relax and enjoy another great episode of the award-winning Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and brought to you by our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosinzia Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. He's backed by a popular man. He's Montreal born and raised actor, director, playwright, which is reminiscent of the golden age of Hollywood. He's a great nephew of the legendary Karl Malden, and also he modeled in Europe. He's also a musician and a drummer as well, too, and did a little DJ work, and he likes to be on radio one day, so I guess we'll have to give him a little schooling as well, too. We talked about the Dreams of Darkness. He was also in My Younger Brother, The Happy Hooker Goes Hollywood, and he's also got a couple of movies out. We'll talk about them in just 1 minute. Live, ladies and gentlemen, Plus Studios from beautiful Midwest, somewhere in that area. The Montreal born and raised actor, director, playwright, reminiscent of the Golden Age and Dreams of Darkness. Ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand, multi-talented Miles Jonn-Dalton. Miles, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us once again.
Mark, it's a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on board as well, too. So just a quick update. You're a Montreal born and raised actor, director, playwright, reminiscent of the Golden Age of Hollywood. I think it's the third time I've had you on so far, or is it second? I think I've lost count after a while. Is that right?
I think it's the third time.
It is the third time. Okay. And of
although
course,
it's been a while.
Yeah. And of course,
so it's nice to reconnect.
Right. And of course, being associated with the legendary Karl Malden, and you modeled in Europe. You're also a musician, drummer as well, too. And I guess the rumor has it you wanted to get back on the radio and play some records as well, too. But first,
would love to.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, you were known for Dreams of Darkness, and you got a couple of movies coming out. How's Dreams of Darkness doing these days, Miles?
Dreams of Darkness is going to be slated for release later this year. The last few years, there have been multiple issues with with distributors, and that's finally getting sorted out. So I'm looking forward to getting released sometime this technically around October 1st, in time for Halloween.
Oh wow! Okay.
So, and it was in limbo. It was in limbo for a while because of there were some legal issues regarding deliverables, and we finally got that sorted. You'd be surprised how nothing goes fast in the movie business. It always just takes forever and ever. It's forever and a day.
Mm-hmm. And of course, back in the days of the movie business, the golden age, it's like it was done like right away. You know, you filmed at Paramount, it's done right away. You filmed at Warner Brothers, it's done right away.
Yeah.
Or go to Columbia or MGM or Universal or any other studio. Boom, done right away. And, they get their film out there. They get their film out to theaters. And of course, you keep going and going to see it. It's like, Hollywood back in the day in the Golden Age, they did not fool around whatsoever.
Well, one also had the complete might of the major studios.
Mm-hmm.
So they had so much money and power behind them that they were like factories.
Mm-hmm.
They would make these movies with a huge army of people, and they had the exhibitors on board, and certainly in the 30s and 40s they had a monopoly on exhibition. So it was a straight path to getting the movies released. Now these days, if one makes a movie independently of the studio system,
mm-hmm.
Therein lies the problem and the difficulties.
Mm-hmm. And what difficulties do you see when it comes to releasing movies as well? Assuming Dream of Darkness, let's say it gets filmed by, I don't know, pick a studio for me.
That's a Universal. Well, the difference is that there would be a lot more money to spend, and also they would have had it done very quickly, and they would have had it in theaters. They would have had it released there was a clear path of distribution. But when one is independent, you're facing an entire plethora of issues, not the least of which is there's an overabundance of content. And one doesn't have the $100 million of advertising that the major studios have. So then how does one get one's movie known to the world? And so you have to think of different alternative ways to make a splash. And not the least of which is word of mouth. You have to, the advertising has to be first rate. You have to grab people. You've got to get their attention very quickly. And so it's much more difficult to make a splash. And if you're lucky, one can get independent distribution. But that in itself can be very, very complicated, and it's one has to navigate the rocky waters and the full of lots of dangerously high, perilous waves, so to speak. There's a lot of distributors that are very unsavory. So you have, of course,
they want to get their hand on it illegally and everything. I think, the golden age of Hollywood, you had that one distributor that was the studio. Then the internet came up maybe at 10, 20. It's like, how many distributors are there now? Like what? 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000?
There's a ton of them. And what's interesting is the studios are so powerful, and they have been for decades and decades, that they basically can guarantee their movies will be seen. But at lower levels or lower budget movies, there's a whole host of issues with distributors, not the least of which is getting proper accountability as to how many copies were sold in Uzbekistan, how many copies were sold in Saudi Arabia or in Sweden, or how many views or downloads were there in Tokyo. And distributors are very well known for fiddling with the books, as they say. So they don't think twice about underreporting just how much your movie has been viewed, or how much it's sold for in a certain territory. And so it's a very corrupt business, just like the music business now is very corrupt. Very, very corrupt.
Right.
And so all one can do is you try to make the best decisions that you could possibly make. And in the case of Dreams of Darkness, it takes a while. It takes a while to know exactly the proper path to go on and the distributor to go with. And of course, it helps if the distributor has been around for a long time, and that they're to some degree they're going to have solid business practices. But it's very time consuming, and there's a lot of risk to it.
Right. And I think that was out maybe like what, 2-3 years ago, something like that. Dreams of Darkness.
That's correct.
Right. Yeah. And I had some really good reviews. And where can we find Dreams of Darkness at in the meantime?
Dreams of Darkness is slated for release in October, on October 1st, and it's going to be in all the major download things. There's also going to be like Amazon. It's going to be on Hulu. It's going to be on. And we're in the midst of trying to negotiate a deal with HBO.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's also going to be sold as physical media as well. It's going to be sold as Blu-ray.
Oh, so
nice. Because I'm a big proponent of having actual physical media.
Right, exactly. And of course, I remember holding copies of VHS, and of course, before that there was beta, and of course you had, what was it, the video disc. I mean, I was like the big thing.
The laser disc. Remember the laser disc?
Laser disc. That was the one. I remember that. I mean, the machines were like what, $1,000 or something.
Yeah, they were
God.
12 inches. They were 12 inches like a vinyl album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love laser discs. I love it. Yeah, I used to get those, and the glory days of the early formats of home video. And like I said, I'm a big proponent of physical media like you are. So for me, it was very important to have my movies released also in a tangible physical format.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is not easy because a lot of places, a lot of distributors don't want to bother with that now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
It's like, dealing with inventory and, supply chain, shipping, everything like that. And of course, I had a guest on my show, and he once worked at Blockbuster. He gave movie reviews, and, big shout out to Brian Sebastian if you're listening. You're such a great guy. And of course, movie reviews and more. That's how it came about. I had quite a few people on my show talking about Blockbuster and how they miss Blockbuster. My God.
so do I. So do I.
Oh God, yes. It's like every Friday I always took my kids in, they pick a movie, and of course you get popcorn to go with it, and you got free trinkets, and of course you always had your Blockbuster pass. You carried it like it was literally a credit card. So I miss those days of Blockbuster.
Do you know what? I was just having this discussion with my brother and my friends, is that and this relates to how the movie business has changed.
Mm-hmm.
It is in the sense that when the video stores disappeared,
mm-hmm.
It was also a societal change because it was a social experience. You went with your friend or your family, and you went to go and rent a movie. You had to physically leave the house. You had to go and into a store, and you had to shop for a new movie. And it was always a very exciting, interesting experience. It was a quasi social experience.
Mm-hmm. Or it's like going to your favorite store, the shopping mall. It's like,
Right.
you take your allowance, you buy whatever it is, and you go, hey, look what I got. Hey, look what I got. Hey, look what I got.
And it was an awesome time. If one was a filmmaker, it was a great time because films had more value back then because there was no internet.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there was in the early days, you couldn't download a movie and watch a movie.
Right.
And so one was forced to actually go find movies at the video store. And there was always a delineation, again, the glory days, when there were certain movies that were made straight for video.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I've never remember how those that statement and that terminology was always sounded detrimental to a movie. Oh, I was made for video.
Uh-huh.
But you say I never saw it that way because that was a market. And as a filmmaker, one could always think, well, if we don't get a theatrical release, we could get the movie in the video stores.
Right. Yeah. It's a way of making back money somehow.
Absolutely. Because it had more inherent value being released. You can only get that movie at the video stores.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's been, my God, Mike, have you seen just how many movies are getting made and they're on YouTube or they're on Amazon or just, and it doesn't take anything. Again, it's the whole concept of things being devalued because, and you don't have to leave your house and there's a million plus more movies being made compared to the days of Blockbuster. Everything had more inherent value back then.
Mm-hmm. Right. And of course, better storyline, better content, and everything else too. It's just like,
there's no doubt.
You gotta take for granted too. It's like even the best movies out there get you like shoved like at 2 a.m., whatever it is, on some network and everything like that. So you just had all of that. But
it was. And the other thing too, Mike, I should point this out because this all relates to what we're talking about and the changes in the movie business is that back in those days, what we're talking, maybe just in the last 20 plus years, 22 years, 25 years, back then, everything had to be shot on motion picture film.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so the costs were inherently higher. It was a more closed off world where you really had to know your stuff and have the proper budget to make any kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And what's changed now is that with the cheap, lesser expensive digital technology is allowing anybody to make a movie now.
Right.
So
Even make movies on your iPhone.
that's correct. That's correct. And people have done that. And even the higher end digital cameras are extremely affordable, and there's no film and processing costs, there's no lab costs. And although I'm a big proponent of film, I only shoot on film. But that's one of the issues as to why things have changed, because now the content is so enormous out there in the world. And a lot of it has to do with the inexpensive digital technology, because now anybody can do it.
Right, exactly. And I
Whereas
remember
back in those days, you really, not anybody could get a hold of a movie camera and shoot 35 millimeter film.
except for here on the Blair Witch Project, that was a big thing. It's like they went around with a movie camera, it was shaking and all that, and yeah, it won like so many awards, and everybody got on the train. Hey, if the Blair Witch Project can do it, it's like I can walk around with a camera and shoot a film.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Make it look like it's happening in real time, and it's a quasi documentary, and that opened the floodgates. So these two things that we just discussed, that has been huge as far as the change in movies, in movie distribution, also with filmmakers such as myself, as to the problems that we are inherently going to face in making a movie independently of the studio system. And yeah, so it's a tough playing field, very tough playing field.
And certainly does too. You made your mark with Dreams of Darkness as well too. You also got two movies out, The Crypt of Evil and the Seduction of Dracula. We'll get to those in just 1 minute. Miles Jonn-Dalton. Sure. But first, you listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the mikewagnershow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. SonicWeb Studios is the answer. SonicWeb Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Milesjon Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Milesjon Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love be their first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Milesjon Zia has garnered great reviews. An evil evident enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forrest Riley, and Eminem. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Milesjon Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the mikewagnershow.com on our 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, also Anchor FM, Odyssey, and also Pandora, and also Podbean. Make sure you subscribe on BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube. Follow us on all the socials. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, and more. Take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, and hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Milesjon Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Milesjon Zia. Check it out today and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the mikewagnershow.com. You're here with the multi-talented Montreal, born and raised, now in the Midwest, Miles Jonn-Dalton here on the Mike Wagner Show, and talked about Dreams of Darkness coming October 1st. You got 2 new movies out there, which you are so looking forward to: The Crypt of Evil and the Seduction of Dracula.
Yes, I'm very excited about these 2 that I'm planning on. I'm in pre-production right now, getting them all ready, and I'm going to shoot them back to back. And I've got a great cast of people I've always wanted to work with, and these are legendary European actors and actresses who will partake in it, and people like Gianni Macchia, Melissa Longo, who is basically the Bridget Bardot of Italy back in the 70s and 80s, and she's had a really grand career. Lone Fleming, Antonio Mines, great well-known Spanish actors that have a long history of being in genre movies. And it was always my dream to shoot movies with them.
Interesting.
And they became. I'm very fortunate. Not only did they agree to do the movies, but they've also become very, very good friends of mine.
Nice.
And the plan is to shoot both movies back to back with the same cast in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because I'm thinking as a producer, this is me wearing my producer's hat, that if I get this glorious cast and I have them, well, why not shoot two movies while I have them in the US?
Interesting.
And hence I can crank out two movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I picked the supernatural thriller horror genre because number one, it's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, from a marketing standpoint, they always do well internationally. That's kind of like the genre that never dies. It's always in demand. People always want to see supernatural thrillers and quasi horror movies.
Uh-huh.
So these are two movies that I'm currently planning. And the thing is too, I wanted to bring Dracula back.
Oh yeah, that's been all over the news, and I think what was it? There was like the 80th, 90th anniversary of the first Dracula. That's been a big thing, and
with Lugosi,
yeah, that's right. And the original was highly emphasized. You could have been like what 90, 95 or whatever it was. I mean, just a really interesting legacy, and he was just a regular actor trying to find some work and stumbled upon Dracula at the last minute and became well known for that. I mean, he was just a regular guy.
He was at that time in early 30s. That Bela Lugosi was not a star in the movies yet. Although he had been playing Dracula on the stage on Broadway in the late 20s. So this is why Universal cast him, and why they thought at the time he would of course be the perfect Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with Boris Karloff. At that time, he was an unknown.
Right. Yeah.
So it's always interesting when you think of these movies in the context of the time that they came out
in.
Mm-hmm.
It also made me think of another actor as well too, Vincent Price, and he was not originally into horror. He was actually a painter and a poet, and of like the living the high life and everything else. And he was like in the upper class and just happened to get cast in being vampires and everything like that. And then instead of being a painter or being a poet, he was made a lot more into Hollywood than what he did than what he originally planned.
Well, what's interesting about some of these actors, just like Boris and Vincent Price and certainly Peter Cushing of the Hammer films, is they actually did not mind being so-called typecast because they realized that the life of an actor and an actress is so difficult that if one strikes gold with just being seen as a genre actor, they consider themselves extremely lucky. This is why they had no problems appearing in horror movie after horror movie and being seen as those kind of actors. And I concur with them. I think it's so unbelievably hard to make it as an actor and actress that if one could just make it being known for a certain genre, one should consider themselves lucky.
And as long as you play your cards right, you manage your money, you manage your social media, your personality and everything, I mean, you can do great. And of course, going off track a little bit, and of course, I think you had the character actor Steve Buscemi. He's known for crooked teeth and having disfigured and everything. If he got his teeth straightened up, it's like he would have lost so many roles. But the guy with all his crooked teeth and everything, he pulls in like over $100,000 a year, $100,000, or even more than that in close to six figures just by appearing in a specialty role, because of his crooked teeth.
He's a good example, Mike, of a persona. He realizes that he's a persona. This persona that people perceive him as, like you just described him. Steve Buscemi is smart enough to know that's his calling card.
Right.
That's his selling point. And he stays with it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, I tell this to people that ask me for advice with, lots of actors and actresses that they're trying to create master plans for a career. I always say to them, I give actually what the opposite advice would be. They're thinking, oh, well, be versatile and do this and do that. My advice in this be no. Develop a uniqueness regarding your persona. Market yourself as a persona, because the world is full of trillions of people. I'm being hyperbolic. I'm being hyperbolic with that. Yeah.
Wannabes, imitations, spin-offs, copycats, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. They're going to do what the acting instructors tell them what to do. Oh, be versatile, do this and do that and do this and do that. Well, guess what? You're going to be the same as everybody else doing that. My approach is be a persona. Develop a persona, develop a uniqueness regarding your character. Market yourself a certain way. Market yourself if you're good to be a villain, market yourself as a villain. Don't say that on a resume or audition for parts where you're going to play somebody's dad. No, market yourself as a villain. Develop some kind of uniqueness about oneself, because there's a bazillion actors and actresses out there that are just doing the same thing.
Right. Mom, dad, or like say, party girl, or like detective, cowboy, everything like that. Or just like all these Hallmark movies. It's like, God, it's like how many same actors you see in every Hallmark film. My God,
that's true. That's true. And everybody becomes interchangeable. And my advice would be develop a sense of uniqueness and market yourself as a unique character and a unique persona, because you're going to stand out.
Right.
And I think that's why I think there's nothing wrong with being looked at being a genre actor or actress, or certainly in the case of the older guys, like you just mentioned, Karloff and Vincent Price, they completely embraced being a horror movie actor. And I think, honestly, this is the way to go. And I think that this is one of the problems that you and I have been discussing regarding what to do in this world where there's just an overload of content and information. And the answer is to try to develop some kind of uniqueness. And I've done it trying to do with the movies, with Dreams of Darkness and Crypt of Evil and the Seduction of Dracula, starting with just the titles of the movie. So you have to think of something that's going to grab people.
Right. Yeah. And of course, we talked about Dracula, as a subject as well, too, starting with Bela Lugosi. There's many offshoots of Dracula, son of Dracula, daughter of Dracula, Dracula marries a bride, or even made fun of in Mel Brooks movies, cartoons and everything like that. And, tell us about this version of Dracula in your latest as well.
The Seduction of Dracula harkens back to, again, the classic ways in which movies were filmed back in the 50s and 60s and the 70s. And it's got a classic storyline. And the Seduction of Dracula, a brief synopsis of it is Dracula is living with his wife. He's got a Countess Dracula. And all the guests staying in his castle are historical characters. So in other words, in his castle, you have Bram Stoker is there, Mary Shelley is there, Edgar Allan Poe is there.
Oh, yeah.
So the premise is take all these legendary, famous characters in the literary world and make them to be guests of Dracula's castle.
Interesting.
And then people are going to wonder, my God, what are they all doing there? How did they get to Dracula's castle? So it's an interesting twist on using Dracula and having the audience go on a journey to find out what are all these famous literary characters doing inside Dracula's castle.
And how they get there, how did they get invited, their lineage, the ties, and everything like that.
because there's jumps in time. We're mixing real life people with fictional characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the premise, and to make it interesting, because every kind of Dracula movie has been made. So I was thinking, what's the best way to put a spin on this? Well, how can we make this different?
Uh-huh.
So that's the entire premise of it.
That is really interesting. I seem to like that. And of course, after the Seduction of Dracula, Crypt of Evil, and what is next for you, Miles?
Oh, good question. Well,
don't be shy. If you want to play drums, you want to play music, want to spin records, you can do that. That's fine. Make a movie out of it. Maybe get Dracula to spin music for you. Who knows?
hey, the world is there's so much to do, and there's so many things I want to do, and certainly we'll take these movies and see what happens after that. But I'm still a professional drummer. I may go on tour with the band. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. Not enough hours in the day, Mike.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I'm living that lifestyle myself, juggling things here and there. It's just like, oh God, I wish I had more time, more sleep, and whatever else. And well, welcome to 24/7, 365. Thanks to the internet, Miles. So
yeah. And what's interesting is that, tell me if you notice this too, Mike, is that this concept of feeling like we never have enough time to get everything done. That's just something which, for whatever reason, really seems to start. One starts really noticing this as one gets older.
Right. Mm-hmm.
For some reason, it wasn't so much in our minds when we're 30 years old.
Right. And of course, times are simpler back then too. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have 24/7. You didn't have this. Got to have this. Got to have that. And you only live once, or use your Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, and tell the world, hey, I had oatmeal for breakfast, or take a selfie of you being in a park or somewhere, like 50 million dog and cat pictures. Like, you never lived in that type of world. If you did, you carry a Polaroid and you took your sweet time, or even 35 millimeter, 110, 126 camera, even little brownie cameras back in the day. So
Mike, it's interesting that you mentioned this, because you and I lived during those times, and I love them. I loved how simple life. It was much more simpler. And and it also relates to you just touched upon something very interesting. TikTok, Instagram, all these things, not the least of which is Facebook, YouTube, so-called YouTube stars.
Yeah.
It's also another thing which, as a filmmaker, I'm also competing with all the social content. So it's not just movies, because you're competing for the people that check their Instagram, they check their Facebook, they're getting updates on their favorite YouTuber, they're watching their favorite YouTuber. So you, as a filmmaker, one is competing with all these social media outlets as well, not just other movies. And people only have a finite amount of time. And so as a producer, I'm also left thinking, how can I get these people's attention?
Right. Yeah. And of course, some people use, little shorts, clips, and everything like that. And of course, back in the day, you just used compelling movie trailers. It's like you had to sit for about 2, 3, 5 minutes. Like, you can get up and try to go get popcorn, go to the bathroom, and all that. It's like they glue you to a trailer back in the day in the movie theaters.
Mike, there's nothing like going into a cinema.
That's right.
And you're watching 10 minutes worth of trailers, and it was glorious. And you couldn't see those trailers anywhere else.
Right.
And again, there was, these are pre-internet days, so there was much more inherent demand for content. But now you're lucky, and I'm, as a filmmaker, I'm left having to think like this in order to try to survive. I'm left thinking, I've got maybe 10 or 15 seconds to get someone's attention.
Right. Yeah. And I think back in the day we were growing up, it took maybe, like, what was it, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And, he had longer attention spans, but they've gotten so short. And even like songs nowadays, it's like they only have like 30-second songs, 1-minute songs, and the longest is like 3 minutes. And today's kids attribute to like, that's like Stairway to Heaven back then. It's like, 3-minute songs considered like Stairway to Heaven, or even like what was it? Inagata Devita or something from Metallica.
Yeah. Human beings aren't just all of a sudden being born with short attention spans. It has to do with society and the media's effect on people's psyches and how it develops. And Mike, you probably have noticed this as well. You notice how there are less and less so-called albums being released.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are just so-called newer artists. They're just releasing singles or EPs.
Right.
So-called
on
EPs.
Spotify, SoundCloud, and DistroKid. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because nobody under the age of 40, I may just be overstating myself a bit, but no one under the age of 40 wants to sit and listen to an entire album. I know that's weird, but everybody is being pulled in so many directions. Oh, here's another thing we can add to this too, Mike. You're also dealing with people that are addicted to texting. So you're trying to get them to sit down and watch your movie. And at the same time, they're getting 5, 6, 7 messages, and they're having conversations with people on their phones as they're sitting down and trying to watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
We can also add cell phones and texting to what the inherent problem is with being a producer. How do you get their attention?
Right. Or you just say, watch this movie or I'm going to bite you.
Yeah, and what it ends up doing is it ends up making you have to strike a fine line between and my brother Nicholas, we've had to strike a fine line between doing stuff that we want to do, and yet at the same time realizing who our audience is,
mm-hmm.
and how are we going to grab them.
Mm-hmm.
And all that you can do if one wants to have any future as a producer is you just do the best you can and to try to be mindful of these things. And like we just touched upon a little bit ago, you're lucky if you've got 10 or 15 seconds.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got 10, 15 seconds. I don't know about everybody else, but I always have 10 or 15 seconds for you, Miles.
Oh, hey, God bless you. God bless you. But, Mike, remember the glory days when you're watching something on TV and you're
mm-hmm.
sitting on the sofa. Well, you don't like really what you're seeing.
Right.
There's no remote. You've got to stand up and go to the TV and change the channel.
I remember that. That was actual exercise. That's how we stayed healthy. It's like, like what's on TV. You never remote. Get up and change it yourself. And if you have to get up again, get up again, or even go to the bathroom, get some more popcorn, get more to drink, get a beer, whatever it is. Like you actually had to get up, but then it's like you had to do it during a commercial break, or it's like you had to run, not miss the good part. I remember those days.
The pre even remote control days,
mm-hmm.
where you had to physically go to the TV and grab the dial and change it.
Right.
And
yeah.
then if you're too lazy, you're thinking, "Oh God, I don't want to get up and go change the channel."
Yeah. Or it's like live with it, or you can say, "Hey, mom, dad, sis, or get your pet dog to change the channel." You do that, otherwise you have to tolerate it. Or just the crawl on your knees to even change the channels. Like I think I'm ready to get one of those TVs. You just have one of those dials and your 3 basic channels: ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Yeah. But see, it was, this all relates to what you and I are talking about, the changes in technology and how this inevitably affects a viewing audience, a modern viewing audience, a modern listening audience,
mm-hmm.
With music. It significantly changes things.
Right. It certainly does. Yes. Uh-huh.
And certainly with music, this is why, even like, for instance, I just saw Ringo Starr.
Mm-hmm.
He just put out a single. It's not even an entire album. He just put out a single, and I think he's releasing an EP. And even some these big names aren't even resorting to releasing records, releasing albums.
Right. Yeah. Or it's like the mini ones. If it's an album, maybe like, 2-3 minutes per song as well. So it's like, they can crank out like that. And I think the days of the albums as well, too. It's like you had like songs about, 2.5 minutes and like 5 songs each. And it's like, that's the album right there. It's like took you 30 minutes to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. Back in the vinyl days, what was it? You're lucky 40 minutes for an album, 18 minutes each side, 19 minutes if you're lucky. And it's very strange. This is, in essence, how technology changes the viewing and listening habits of people. And all you can do if you want to stay in the game is you just have to be much more mindful of these things. And I think, speaking for myself as a producer, you just have to also make the movies as inexpensively as you can, and yet imbue them with a lot of production value. Now that's a tall order to fill, because the returns aren't going to be like what the big studios get.
Right.
So your returns, they've got so much money to pour into these movies. They're going to get big returns because of the international distribution. But when you're a smaller independent producer, it's more risky. So you have to keep your inherent costs down in order to try to maximize a profit. Otherwise, you're just dealing with money losses.
Right. Right. Exactly. And of course, with Dreams of Darkness, soon to be Crypt of Evil, and Seduction of Dracula, where can we find out he works at, including, I forgot to touch upon my younger brother and the Happy Hooker Goes Hollywood.
tiny bit part, different times. And I'll tell you something. The one thing I'm very fortunate for is that I'm my own boss, along with my brother Nicholas. We're our own bosses, so we can decide. We have the final say with things, and it's just one just has to take these things one movie at a time and see how they do. And I think that Crypt of Evil and the Seduction of Dracula will have a good future, and it's something which is tales as old as time. So everyone, it's stories that people and characters that people are going to have some degree of relating to. Someone says, it's a new Dracula movie out, and everyone knows who Dracula is. So it's going to pique a lot of people's curiosity.
And I think so too. And what can we expect Crypt of Evil and Seduction of Dracula to be out?
I think that's at least a good year away from being released. Because I'm in pre-production right now, and by the time things get filmed, and by the time things get edited, and once we get things straightened out with distributors, I'm thinking here's what I'm going to say conservatively, because I'm a big proponent of timing. These are Halloween movies, so I'm a big proponent of getting these kinds of things released around Halloween time. So I'm saying conservatively, Crypt of Evil and the Seduction of Dracula, Halloween of 2025, next year.
Halloween 2025. So be prepared to get scared, guys, and everything else. In the meantime, where can we find all your works at, Miles? And what's your website, by the way?
I don't have a website per se right now. You can see the Dreams of Darkness official trailer on its YouTube channel. And I'll be developing the Seduction of Dracula and Crypt of Evil Facebook pages. I'll let you know when those are up, and I'll keep you updated on Dreams of Darkness and any future news with that. That again is another thing of timing, because it's going to be a really good Halloween movie. So that's best seen around October, when Halloween, the classic Halloween month. Yeah.
All right. We're certainly looking forward to that. We'll have you back around October, something like that. Give some scary news. We're here with the amazing multi-talented Miles Jonn-Dalton, the Dream of Darkness, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Miles, a very big thank you for your time. As always, looking forward to having you soon. Make sure you keep this up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Wish you all the best. And Miles, you definitely have a great future ahead of you. And keep us up to date. Love to have you back around October time.
Mike, thank you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Always a lot of fun. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshinzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show. Brought to you by international award-winning author Mia Mohsen-Zia of Missing. And powered by Sonic Web Studios. Be sure to join us again on over 40 podcast platforms. And of course on the mikewagnershow.com, hamiltonradio.net, and Diamonds FM. Don't forget to support our program with a generous donation at themikewagnershow.com. Thanks for listening.